Yo. What's up, everybody? All right, we're going to get started in just a minute, but first I have a movie.
In a world full of AI, some things are proudly human-built. The Pyramids of Giza. Whatever this is. Fenway Park. This scary robot. The Mayans. Built by humans. The ship. The pyramids, Rome. Server farms. Airplanes and skyscrapers. Even this guy right here. All proudly built by humans. Some of you might be wondering, were these things built by aliens? But no. Built by humans. Even this piece of crap built by humans. And this. Let's not forget about this, also built by humans. And who could forget, why do we build this? This is terrible. Stop doing these things, humans. Why are you building this? Stop, it's awful. But we've done it all without AI. We don't need the robots. We're humans, we're amazing. We can do anything we set our minds to. I mean, sure, we use tools, lots of tools. In fact, we kind of depend on them, and most of the modern world couldn't be built without them, and gosh, we're kind of really dependent on tools and machinery and computers and humans, proudly co-building things with machinery for centuries. All of these things built by machines with human assistance. Crap. Well, I guess we're stuck with it.
So, as has been a theme at this ITX, all we're all talking about is AI. And I do want to let you all know early on, I really am not somebody who is an expert on AI. I don't care. I think it is stupid. I was a service and ops manager for a long time and grew a very large MSP on people. So if this were up to me and I got to pick my session title and I hadn't done what Jonathan had asked me, this would be AI is stupid, don't do it, go home. But that's not what we're here to talk about, and I don't want you all to think that I actually hate technology. I am a local, so it's kind of cool to be here. Here's a photo of me as a child. I grew up on Cape Cod. This is when I was in preschool or at Scargo Hill Preschool. And as you can see, I did once have love for robots. I grew up watching Star Trek. I wanted the computer that could talk back to me. The idea of being able to have a human conversation with a piece of technology that could do stuff, I want that future. I still want that future really badly. I actually am not scared about us eventually creating sentient, synthetic life. I think that's really cool that we might do that. The thing is, that's not what we currently have whatsoever. What we currently have is something that I kind of hate, even though we did get a lot of Star Trek. The future is here, and it is a ginormous, sloppy mess. I mean, just look at what your clients can log into Claude and immediately just plug in and start just vomiting data into AI. They don't even need your assistance to do that. That's terrifying. I mean, just from a DLP standpoint, that's awful. It's a mess. And all of you are being held responsible for this, whether you manage it or not, because as you know, we're MSPs. So when we're doing our job, what are you even doing? And then when a problem actually occurs and we're fixing it, what are you even doing? It's been the curse of the IT industry since it started. And this is yet another manifestation where we are being forced to clean up messes that we didn't start because it plugs into something. Therefore, it's IT's fault, including my garage door opener, which doesn't work. I'd like you to fix that. And my toilet doesn't flush. Take care of that as well. And I need a light bulb changed, please. Somebody in here take care of that, because that's what we really are in a lot of our end clients' eyes. Now, I want to be clear, this is not an anti-clanker talk, even though that's pretty much all I've said so far. And yes, I am that guy in probably 40 years that will be going, no robot granddaughter of mine's going to marry a clanker. So but that's not what I'm trying to get through here. AI is real. It is useful. It is useful. I used it to make most of these slides based on the outline I put together. It's also incredibly immature. It's incredibly overhyped, as you could see from literally everyone on stage, including me talking about it, Ninja wanting us to talk about it. And it's already inside your clients' businesses, whether you're managing it for them, you're a trusted advisor on AI, or providing white glove AI, or whatever other horseshit words that you're using for your services marketing that we love to do here. It's already there, and we're gonna be held responsible for it either way. So we kind of have to own that. And everything on this list can be simultaneously true. And I think that is the most important mental hurdle to get over. AI can be the future, and it can also be a piece of crap right now. And those two things can coexist, and it doesn't make anyone who's been up here incorrect today, and it doesn't make any of you incorrect for whatever opinions or stances you've taken on AI. It's an emerging technology that we haven't figured out yet, but we have to get our arms around this. Humans have always been tool-oriented. That was kind of the point of the little video I stuck in there, because I got the treasured after lunch slot when nobody cares anymore and we're exhausted, because we decided that we'd let Reed go up first and talk about, M&A, which is the most exciting topic of the day, instead of sticking him after lunch. Thanks a lot, Ninja. So tried to get you all hyped up, but the point here is that humans use tools. Literally, as a species, we have evolved to be pursuit, tool use predators. It's why we've risen above other intelligent creatures in the world, and everything we've ever done has been done with tools. And at some point, our tools eventually become an efficiency multiplier and end up replacing other stuff. This has been the case literally since we've had any sort of documentation of human civilization. And if we view AI through this lens, it gets a lot more comfortable and a lot more safe and a lot easier to digest, because ultimately we're all tool people, even though we're ashamed of that and we don't want to add more tools to our stack. And you heard that conversation earlier as well. Humans using tools is what humans do. But the important part is the human part. Ultimately, we are an industry of humans that support other humans. Your client's technology does not break if your clients don't touch it. It breaks because they use it, because humans break it. In auto-remediation of anything, auto-remediates, except when a human gets in the way. We are humans supporting other humans, and specifically, we support people arriving at outcomes where technology is ancillary to it. Our clients are not actually paying us to fix their printer. They're paying us because they need to print a presentation out for their biggest client in 20 minutes, and they need that to happen, and they need it to print in cerulean blue on the black and white printer, which isn't possible, and they don't want to hear that from you right now. They don't care that the printer works or doesn't work. They care about their outcome. And that's what our industry has always focused on doing, and what has always set us apart a little bit from other types of IT support. So the problem we now have is really the way AI is being used by most of our SMB clients. We're coming into a trust abdication issue. People trust fluent language. Well, we have that now. If y'all remember early edition things like Amazon Alexa or Google Home when it first came out, it was basically canned pre-recorded responses, and I'll rant more about that in a minute, but it wasn't fluent language. Well, we've got fluent language now. That's trustworthy. People trust confident output. If any of you have ever seen anything about a Dunning-Kruger curve, you understand how that works. If any of you are parents, you know how that works with little kids. They get real confident real quick, and then they trust themselves more than they should. People trust things that look finished. These slides look finished. I found mistakes when I was looking at them earlier in a session because I trusted that they looked finished. People trust tools more when they're busy. And we already know this from the last 10 years of security posture. Why do your otherwise smart clients send a wire transfer to an obvious fraudster? Because they're busy. They're in the middle of doing something else, and this is an inconvenience, and it looks good enough in the moment, and so they do it. And we're sitting there Monday morning quarterbacking, just being like, so one of my MSP that I'm no longer a part of here in southeastern Massachusetts, it started in Fairhaven, and we were very fortunate to grow very large and become a very large platform MSP and sell early to private equity that was really cool and like value aligned and left us alone. It was It was really fun. We were very lucky. One of our clients at the time was one of the largest DOT contractors in Massachusetts. And I won't name them, but if you work in that space, you could probably guess. It's a short list of names. They were one of the main contractors on the big dig. And we routinely would have them wire transfer large sums of money to obvious frauds and scams, even though we had all of the things in place, security awareness training. We even had, at that time, I think we were using, it might have been like Sophos email protection when they first got like Reflection. It had like a great pop-up. They would even be like, are you sure? Like this link is in, they would click through it and we're like, what's going on? Like these are smart people who are literally designing and bidding on infrastructure projects that we all use. Smart people in a rush. They just trust things that look good enough in the moment. That's exactly what's happening in our clients' brains with AI. And AI produces confidence much faster than it produces correctness, which all of you know if you've prompted anything into any sort of LLM ever, it will very confidently answer things that are also usually very confidently incorrect. So the problem is not that the AI has an output and is doing AI stuff. That is a problem, but that's not really our problem. Our problem is the trust our clients give in the confidence of that output and just move forward on things. And if you think about it, with old automation, and the example I would give here, so a couple weeks ago, I was driving back from, I had been in London at an event, and I came back for a day, was driving back out of Boston down to the Cape, and I flew back so I wouldn't be in rush. I literally left Logan at 2, and I was still stuck in 3 hours of traffic. Largest infrastructure project on the face of planet Earth. We have beautiful parks now, and it's still a nightmare to get in and out of the city. And as I was sitting in my car getting incredibly frustrated about that situation, I decided, well, I've got a Google phone, I've got Android Auto, I will ask the Android assistant to find me a better route. And I did not realize Google had updated my Android assistant in Android Auto to Gemini, which is Google's AI model. And so I got a male voice answering me instead of the like fake British female voice I've had on my assistant for 10 years. And it hung up in the middle of me asking it to reroute and text my wife something. Full screen on the DIN, no ability to exit out or hit cancel. And I nearly put my fist through the DIN on my Subaru. That's how you know I'm from Massachusetts. For those who are not from here, there's a handful of cars you're legally allowed to drive in Massachusetts, and a Subaru is one of them. And not a Subaru with a giant wing, a Forester or an Outback, like a proper Massachusetts person. I'm not wearing my flannel right now because I'm on stage. That was really frustrating. And in that moment, I was thinking, this is worse. This is worse than my old Google AI assistant that, yeah, it wasn't smart, but it just would respond to canned keywords and give me canned responses. I could say, text Alexis, and it would text my wife. It was slow, but it always worked. This stupid smart Gemini thing they snuck in could have a conversation with me. It did a way better job understanding what I was dictating, but it kept locking up. It kept freezing. I went into the tunnel. It lost signal. It shit the bed. It wasn't objectively more useful, even if it was technically smarter and more capable. And when we're looking at this with our clients have heard us talking about automation now for a while. Many of you, if you've been doing value-added selling, where you have your unique differentiator, which the industry's been telling you to do for the last 15 years, I wish we would all accept we're just all commodities. We're all pizza shops, dough, sauce, cheese, but those are hurtful words, and you didn't come here to be hurt. We've all been telling our clients about automation, business processes. Hey, let's do a QBR, a TBR, my VCIO, which is a made-up thing. My VCIO is going to meet with you and help you figure out how to optimize your business. We've been telling them this for so long. Many of our clients did start to listen. To them, this is a natural evolution. What I experienced in my car to them is normal. Well, my MSP has been saying you need to automate. I've gone from stupid, like pre-programmed automation to magical automation. This is great. My MSPs knew the future, but that's not what we meant, because that's not what's actually happening. And it's important to understand this distinction between old style automation and current AI. Yeah, it's a lot more flexible. It feels a lot more natural. It's a lot easier to engage with. It will respond in a way that is rewarding. AI now is more like, if you want to make a comparison, old automation is like a crappy toy robot dog. It's a facsimile of a dog. AI now is like a golden retriever. That's a dog. It's happy to see you. And you're kind of happy it's happy. This is cool. This is what I wanted. And that is incredibly problematic for our clients because it's caused an evolution of shadow IT. We already know our clients do this. We know we do this. Who in the room here does shadow IT at their own company? If you are not the owner of your MSP, you don't have to raise your hand so you won't get in trouble. But we all do it, right? Like all of us use some side channel tools for something. And we know our clients do it. Even if your environment is super locked down and you've been really, really careful about that, you still know somewhere in that client environment there's some shadow IT going on, because of course there is. Well, AI just suddenly completely kneecapped the barrier to entry of doing any form of shadow IT. I literally don't have to call my MSP or my nephew anymore to go and add a piece of technology that I didn't tell you about, because the AI will walk me through it. One of our verticals at our MSP that I made us get rid of was dental, because it's a terrible vertical. If any of you are specialized in dental, bless your hearts. I used to have this problem when the stupid 3D printing crown machines became vogue, that we'd get a dentist that would call us 2 weeks after they bought and installed this, being like, oh, I got a bunch of Wi-Fi extenders and plugged them in, to connect my new machine that you're just hearing about for the first time, and I expect you to support right now because it's having a critical outage. I mean, shadow IT has been a thing, but back then that required just a tiny bit of knowledge or access to a person, at the very least, a modestly competent nephew to come in and install those, whatever, Eros Wi-Fi extenders. But now I can just go into ChatGPT and just say, I don't want to talk to my MSP, but I want to make Wi-Fi happen everywhere. What should I do? And it will very confidently walk some already overconfident and cheap dentist through what to go to Best Buy to buy and do and not tell you about. Shadow IT has now been amplified. And when you start thinking about that, how easy it is now to just not bother talking to any of you about solving a lot of these problems, and we already know that I just want to go solve problems, it actually isn't really shadow IT, it's shadow operations. And this should really be the thing that's more concerning to all of you, and really, I think, where you want to pivot your thinking around how do I posture myself around my client's AI. It's not being the trusted AI advisor. You're all going to do that, whether you want to or not. The market's going to de facto force that. It's not understanding how to build a workflow or help the client buy an AI tool. Eventually, the market's going to force your competence in that, whether you want it or not. The real risk to your MSP longer term is shadow operations. It's these companies now having entire operational components of their business obfuscated from you because they're just using AI to do it, even in areas that are not IT related. And this opens up an immense amount of risk, because you all know that when there's a problem, you will be held responsible for the problem, whether you agreed to it or not. So the shadow operations, if you need a definition, is business workflows, decisions, automations, communication, or integrations created outside of normal IT governance, often using AI-assisted tools with unclear ownership, unclear risk, and unclear support boundaries. And none of those scary things at the end have anything to do with LLMs or MCP servers or nested containers. That's stuff we've all been dealing with here every time our industry pulls the carpet out from under us and says you have to worry about something new. You went through this when suddenly you all have to be selling BCDR because tapes are terrible. And how dare you have a machine that changes tapes, you terrible MSP. You need to have a BCDR appliance. And then Zenith went out of business, and then all the other vendors copied their code base, and we don't really have any original BCDR. But I shouldn't say that here now. Ninja owns a backup product. Sorry, Ninja. But we've been through this. We've been through this with security. We've been through this with, we got a VoIP company back there. We've been through this with voice. Like literally every product our industry has become responsible for, we've been through these three items. That's what's happening now. And there's two things in the brains of your clients that are happening simultaneously. They can create things and they can interpret things. And this is a really important distinction when we start framing this back to your help desk, back to the people who are actually interacting with your clients. There are two types of language here and two ways we have to start thinking about preparing the people who pick up the phones and answer the emails to interpret things that are potentially related to AI at our clients. Is this person trying to create something or are they trying to interpret something? Both of these create risk and shadow operations, but they are fundamentally different elements and we respond to them differently, especially if we look at this entire thing as a risk matrix like we should as proper professionals with any new area of our business that we've been asked to support. I will give you a comparison with two slides I can't use anywhere else than I'm on stage. Who here remembers Tweeter? If you're not from New England, you don't know what I'm talking about. I see a couple of hands up. So for those of you who are not from this area, a brief bit of history. At one point in time, a man named Sandy Bloomberg started sort of like a Ferrari and Rolls-Royce dealership for audio, except every single one of them would be staffed by people who were passionate experts on the subject. I don't mean 1980s Radio Shack, show me where the 280K resistors are guy. I mean somebody that could literally sit you down and explain why braided cabling actually causes high frequency signals to travel slightly faster than low frequency signals, and that doesn't matter for anybody except the upper like 10% of people who have a like $400,000 speaker system, that level of person. It was a very, very impressive company. And I was fortunate enough way back in the early 2000s to work there. Would you buy a TV from this man? Well, many of you did. I wouldn't. And if you remember way back in the day, in 2004, 2005, the TV I have up there, that is a Pioneer Elite Plasma 60-inch TV. That was the largest TV a consumer could buy on planet Earth. It was also the highest quality piece of visual presenting technology that was available to a consumer, and it also rang in at the wonderful MSRP of $9,999. And for those that care, it had about 7 points of margin, which is why I only made $100 from selling it to you and refused to give you a discount back in the day. It almost always required a professional installation, and it weighed 500 pounds. It was a beautiful machine, but like, this TV is better and was $200. I can kick this right now and it doesn't matter, like, because we can just go down the street and get another one. My point though is early on, if you came into a tweeter going, tell me more about this HD thing, you would have seen a showroom like in that photo, you would have seen somebody like me, and we would have tried to figure out what's your need, what are you here for, what are you actually asking? Because at that time, there were not a lot of high definition TVs. We had not even arrived at a set standard. There was 1080i, 1080p, 720p, 480p. We didn't really know yet, was it gonna be plasma, LCD, rear projection, DLP projection? Was it still gonna be tubes with the nice Sony, those like 32-inch Sony flat glass tubes? Those are nice TVs, if anyone still has those. We didn't know. And content, there was no content. There was upscaled movies, maybe. There was 2 competing formats, maybe. None of the broadcast stations had set standards yet. The only camera that could record in HD was the red one. That's that, like, you know, that like multi-million-dollar movie recording camera. But yet you were told this is the future. You need to buy one. And if you came into my store at that time and you're like, I want to buy the biggest screen you can buy, and I told you this is $10,000. That's not responsible of me to force you out of the store with a $10,000 TV for a format that we don't even know what it's going to be yet, and you probably can't even use. That's setting you up for a very poor experience. George was talking earlier when I popped in about setting expectations around experience. Well, had I done that, had I said, you give me 10 grand for that TV, plus about $800 for installation, plus another $400 in cabling, because it really did cost that much at the time, and you went home and you'd be like, this is crap, it's just bigger. This is just bigger crap. You would not be happy. Now, an ultra enthusiast, somebody who had money to burn that didn't care, they just wanted the latest and greatest, they would buy that and be very, very happy. For the rest of you, I'd go show you something like a, you know, mid-range Panasonic, which still costs like $2,500, $3,000 for a plasma at that time. The gray Panasonic ones that last forever, and you know, they literally don't make them like they used to. That would have been your experience. And I use this example because if you remember from about 2004 to 2010, the word HD was plastered on freaking everything. HD glasses, HD glass, HD presentation remote, HD microphone. It slices, it dices, it does something in high definition. We don't know what, but for only 3 payments of $39.99, you too can have HD at home. Because we knew that this idea would be the future, but we had no real idea how it would coalesce. Now, it is a ubiquitous standard. All broadcast TV is either natively broadcast in high definition or natively upscaled. You cannot buy a TV that isn't widescreen like this, and these TVs are throwaway money. I just bought a new TV after years, and I'm a snob, and I went out and had to spend like $1,500 to get a 50-inch Sony because I wanted a fancy Sony. And now I regret it because I can barely tell the difference from my 10-year-old Sony. The point being that like now we've standardized. We can't even really laughably think back to when we didn't all understand exactly what HD was, what to buy. Who here would now go spend $200 on a 10-foot HDMI cable? None of you. I mean, that's like a $3 item if it's not free. Because finally the market corrected. We're not there yet with AI. And if you came into the store and I tried to sell you this then, a $20,000 home theater with none of the content or standardization to support it, and you weren't an enthusiast, you would be upset with me. And that's exactly where your clients are right now with AI and where we are. We are the tweeter in this example. We know that some version of this is here to stay and will be permanent, but we don't know exactly what. And we've got a lot of vendors who are basically trying all their different formats and versions until eventually we figure out sort of a well understood standard, and then it will scale, the market will drop out, and then it will be here like it's always been here, and we'll laugh that we ever had conferences where we talked about the future of AI and the rest of your help desk. But right now we're not there. And I think it's irresponsible to ignore that, and I think it's irresponsible to hand wave this away and go, AI is not for me, I won't do that. And I also think it's irresponsible to go, well, AI is the future, you have to do it. It's gonna replace all of these people or replace all of those people. We don't know. I was talking to Alec earlier, and he was telling me this really cool stuff they built into their platform that does like agent analysis on phone calls, which is super cool. To me, that sounds like a technology that'll probably last. We don't know that. That could end up being in like 5 or 6 years that it turns out that like that was the HD DVD of high definition. Cool format. Toshiba made really, really good quality stuff, but it lost because Sony released the PS3 with a Blu-ray player in it. It was a better tech and it actually lost just for random reasons. We don't know that yet. A lot of this is taking a bet, and I think that's okay. But you have to remember that you have to gauge where your clients are with this AI. If it is a toy for their wallet or vanity and they are willing to tell you that, that's fine. But you need to get that clarified for them before you start owning AI on your risk matrix. So a help desk that does not survive AI, and to be clear, I think that nearly all of you are going to survive AI. I don't think that's what's going to come for your help desks. Don't worry. Even if you are a Luddite MSP, the way I would probably still be running mine, where you'd be human only, we're not doing this. I really don't think AI is going to kill your help desk. But a help desk that doesn't survive AI, in other words, it really isn't thriving afterwards. You picked HD DVD and plasmas as your standard, and whoopsie doodle, that's not really a thing anymore. If you ignore it until it breaks something, if you treat every AI issue as that's not our problem, which is literally how I would have handled this 10 years ago, if you just abdicate risk, which all of you do because our industry is really bad about having challenging conversations where it might shake the tree because revenue pays the bills, so I know you all abdicate risk. If you let the clients define the technical risk, which if we're channeling our inner ITIL and we're doing our impact and urgency analysis when we triage stuff, we define the technical risk, not the client. Can you tell I was a service and ops? Service managers know about gross margin, Reed. I heard you earlier. I was sad when you said that. It hurt me. You can tell I was a service manager for a long time. If you bolt AI onto broken processes, if you're bolting, you're just sprinkling glitter on top of crap, it's just glittery crap. Prompt theater, where we replace judgment with just prompts, just completely punt and abdicate to the AI to tell us what to do, and blind troubleshooting, which is a huge problem right now with all of our help desks. It's been a problem since Google was a thing, and all of you that are my age or older, that are, in your 40s or older, you know what I'm talking about. It's the kids in the interviews the last 10 years, like, well, I could look it up rather than knowing it. And we've all kind of struggled to adjust to the fact that they're both right and wrong about that. That's blind troubleshooting. So going in and just troubleshooting outputs without understanding the workflow or what the client's trying to even do, having no support boundary whatsoever. How many people here, if a client is really upset, are just gonna go just take care of it? Because we're white glove service or we're full stack service and we just need to take care of it. Probably most of you, but then how many times does that end up biting you in the butt long term? Almost every single time. And if we don't set those boundaries for our teams, well, they're gonna channel the spirit of our companies, which is just do whatever the client's asking for, do right by them. So a help desk that's gonna survive AI, really thrive in AI, you're gonna remember something that's incredibly important in being lost in the AI conversations. We are human-first organizations. We always have been. How many people in here started their MSP? Did you start your MSP because you really love computers and said, fuck people? No, right? You were like, I like people, I like computers, and I like the feeling I get when I help people with their computers. Literally, we are an industry born of people who want to help other people. All of the employees in this room continue to work for you in one of the most mentally taxing and exhausting industries because they get everyday joy from all of the individual people they get to help. We are an industry that is human first. Stay human first, no matter what the future brings and how it changes. Remember that. Treat AI output as evidence, not as truth. We're not there yet with that. Start practicing AI literacy internally so that your team via osmosis can start practicing AI literacy to your clients. Become AI literate. People on your team should understand basic vocabulary words. They should get the gist of how an LLM works, why Claude is different than Gemini or GPT or Siri, what an MCP server is, how connecting something via API inside an AI tool could be more or less risky. These are all things that everyone in your org should have a very basic understanding of. Ownership. You need to define ownership early. We don't retroactively define ownership of something that we think may or may not be contractually obligated in our ownership. If you don't know how that works, go talk to Rob over at Monger. He'd be happy to help you clean up your contract language. You have a clear sense of ownership. Say no without being useless. This was something I had to learn personally as our MSP scaled. There's a lot of things I want to say no to. Clients are usually wrong about most stuff. And if I lived in my pure service manager world, no, no, no. But you can't do that. Saying no with no other option or outcome is useless. You need to document things. And I don't just mean document your tickets and your stuff. You have to be more vigilant than you've ever been about documenting how your client runs their business. If you cannot go through your book of business right now and give me an elevator pitch on how each one of your clients moves money through their business and how they actually function well enough where you could sit at the table at their industry conference and at least fool someone from their industry for a few minutes, you are failing here. You have to document how your clients conduct business because you are going to be the canary in the coal mine for spotting risk. Your clients, first of all, our clients are going to tell us that anyways, but they don't know. They literally don't know what they don't know. So you want them to show you the workflow. Show me what you do today. Show me where that data comes from. Show me where the output goes. Show me who receives or reviews it, and show me what breaks if it is wrong. And I don't have it listed here, but there's another bullet point. You have to use your professional judgment. How many of you have ever sat in front of a new prospect and asked one of our generic MSP questions? We're trying to figure out, supportability for the internet. How often does the internet go out here? And what does every client look you right in the eyes across the conference table and lie to you and go, almost never. Well, okay, but if it does go out, what happens? Oh, we're okay. We can operate, without the internet for half a day or a couple of days, a couple of weeks. And then as soon as you bring them on, the internet goes out probably within the first 3 months, and the client's going ballistic because it turns out they can't operate for more than 30 seconds, and they have an incredibly unreliable connection. That's happened to all of us. I mean, literally, that's why we ask that question when we're prospecting. We know that our clients are not always going to accurately represent their risk, and it's not malice. A lot of times it's the same reason why all of you lie to your dentist about how many times you floss. What do most of us say? Well, not every day, because we feel bad telling an expert that, yeah, I don't really floss that much, even though we know intrinsically they can tell because they're a mouth doctor staring in our mouth when they ask us that question. But we give a sort of a hedging our bets answer. Your clients do that to you, and they're gonna do it with this. So you have to go in there and take that 10, 20, 30 years of experience you have and interpret what they're saying and fill in the blanks they're not able to fill out for you. If you are a niche down MSP, this is so much easier. Not the point of this talk, but there are definitely riches in the niches. At our MSP, the only reason why we grew from like 700K to when I left 55 million plus with like a 14x EBITDA valuation, which was super cool, is because we accidentally picked a niche because pot became legal in Massachusetts and a bunch of grow facilities came to Southeastern Mass, wanted to do a project, and we were the only MSP that showed up and placed a bid. We didn't know anything about the industry, and we fell into a niche. And then we learned how to work in that industry, and then private equity bought them out, and we're like, cool, we have a process. And then we applied it to veterinary clinics. So niching down makes everything we're talking about easier. And you gotta remember that that AI output at your clients, and this is really more for how you're gonna be teaching your clients to think about this, is evidence, not truth. A summary is not a ticket. A recommendation is not a root cause. A generated script is absolutely not approved change. A chatbot answer is not documentation, even if the chatbot mostly answers the same way every time. And a confident answer is not a correct answer. The Venn diagram does overlap. Those are parallel, but they are not perpendicular. You will have times where a confident answer is exactly in alignment with the correct answer. But confidence and correct are two separate things. Do not outsource judgment to something that can't attend the post-mortem. If you are allowing your client to outsource judgment to AI tools, sidestepping you, well, when they do have an incident and somebody from your MSP is forced to be on the local news or an ABC family, so with Channel 5 here, where you're forced to be on TV with Channel 5, general public's not going to care when you're like, well, gosh, we weren't responsible for this and we didn't know about this and our client used AI and didn't tell us. We're all going to be like, what a shitty IT company. And all of you have thought that when you've seen your competitors in the same situation, even though we know that there's probably a lot more to the story there than we knew. You need to start classifying the risk, and I would teach your team to think this way. I like classifying AI usage at our clients into 4 categories: toy, assistant, workflow, and agent. A toy is something that is low risk and probably used for fun. Maybe that client likes to make silly memes in GPT or Google Banana. They're not using client data. It's not a production thing, so have fun. We don't really care about that. We don't really need to know a whole lot about it or govern it for you. Assistant, it maybe helps a human draft, summarize, or analyze. A great example of something at an assistant level could be like OneStream's product that analyzes my call logs for me and comes back and gives me advice on what to do. It doesn't do it for me, just gives me advice on what to do. There is some risk to us if that stops working at our client, right? Our client might want us to fix it, but it's not something that's likely to cause like a business compromise. Workflow. Now we're getting into something that's a core element of their operations. We need to know about this. We need to document and we need to govern this usage. And we need to be able to draw a firm line in the sand and have it in our contract that, hey, if we are not governing this, we are not responsible for this. And then the most dangerous area today, but probably where we're going to see this list condensed in the future, is agent level. Actually makes decisions and actions and triggers output independent of human interaction. That's still a little bit rare to see in our end clients, except for certain niche industries. But if your clients are using AI in that way, you absolutely have to have a formal review process of this. And you need to decide this is either going in your contract and scope of work or is explicitly carved out, almost treating that like a digital person. Your support boundaries are not optional. You have to define what you support, advise, secure, maintain, protect, respond to, answer the phone after hours on. And this is where you have to think of AI in your clients like an agreement process and an expectation setting issue, not a help desk or technology issue, because your teams are just going to respond to pain and help. Your teams are not going to litigate this, and if they are, they should not be doing that. They are not going to litigate this to the client. They cannot be your firewall against the client asking for irresponsible things. You have to be governing this as a business partner to your clients. So what do you do Monday when you get back from all of this, from the Sox? Maybe we'll get another shutout victory tonight, but it's not looking good, friends. Well, I've got a worksheet that you can download if you'd like to. I'm a big fan of creating worksheets for people, but we want to think about adding AI tool knowledge to our intake process. Tool owner, data, workflow, risk. If you have a triage process defined, you might want to consider having a carve out when somebody submits a ticket where the text go, that sounds like it could be AI we don't know about, that they have a way to triage that and at the very least file it away in your ticketing system so you could look for it later. You want to create a support boundary matrix on what you will support, advise, secure, monitor, or refuse, and you are allowed to refuse things. You are absolutely allowed to refuse things, just don't refuse everything, because I'll happily take your clients when you do that. You have to train the help desk on workflow first triage. And if you are using some sort of automation to do your triage, you have to train that automation on workflow first triage. We have to be focused on outcome and output. What was the client actually trying to do, not what did they report as being broken? Because that's how we're going to spot where there's shadow operations going on in the usage of AI that we don't know about. And a little bit of inspiration here, just to remind all of you, like, you're all capable of doing this. You're more capable than any other group of humans on the planet. Literally, our industry has been doing this over and over again. It's why, if you've worked at an MSP as a tech for more than 3 or 4 years, you can go to our sysadmin on Reddit and very confidently laugh at people who have worked in internal IT for 10 or 15 years, because you become Ron Swanson in a Home Depot. You can look them square in the eye and be like, I know more than you, because you do. This industry understands the usage, the actual pragmatic and applied usage of technology towards human output better than any other facet of the IT space. It's why Cisco and Microsoft have never come for your business, despite us always getting ourselves hyped up every few years that, oh, they're going to kill off MSPs. No, they're not. Supporting SMBs is atrocious. They don't want to do that, and we're already way better at it than they are. You have conquered this mountain every time it has come up in the last 30 years. Every single one of you runs a business that fundamentally your core operating principles are taking care of people and being a net benefit to the community that you're in. I don't care if your MSP is 2 employees or 200 employees. All of you that are entrepreneurs or business owners have created jobs. You've created livelihoods in your communities. There are people like me who get to do stuff like this because of people like you now. You are hyper experienced at this process. AI is just a new word being thrown in something you have all very capably weathered and handled over and over again. So if at any point you start doubting yourself or feeling this is too complicated, I don't want to deal with it, I'm just going to crawl in a hole and wait till there's templates published on the Tech Tribe I can copy, just remind yourself that you can do this. You have done this over and over again, and you have done it successfully. The fact that you are here is proof you've done it successfully. The fact that there are more and more people applying for jobs in tech is manifest proof that as an industry, we are equipped better than anyone else to handle this and be humans that support other humans. The help desks that survive AI will not be the ones that automate the most. They'll be the ones that stay useful while everyone else is busy trying to be impressive. And all of you have always managed to stay useful. If you are interested in what I actually do for a living, I work for a training company. You're welcome to scan that and book a demo. I don't work in RevUp, so I don't really care, but there is the QR code that is on the screen for you. And we do have lots of training about AI on our platform. I randomly picked 3 courses to give you an example. I have done my required and designated shilling as a vendor. If you want additional shilling, find me later. Thank you, everybody, for patiently sitting here. Let's get some energy going again. We've still got a few hours before the Red Sox lose.
Hopefully not.
Anyone have any questions as I hand this off to Paul? Perfect.
Thanks very much. Much appreciated.
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you. That was a